Traveling with less sounds great in theory, but somehow most of us still end up carrying too much stuff, wasting time looking for cables, chargers, passports, toiletries, or simply packing way more than we actually need. And after traveling full-time for the last 3 years, I've noticed that some of the best travel products aren't necessarily the most exciting ones. They're the products that quietly save space, save time, and make your entire setup easier every single day. So hey, Johannes from Gear Up Your Life here, and today I'll show you 11 travel products that do exactly that. Products that help you stay organized, pack smaller, and spend less time dealing with your gear, and more time actually enjoying your trip. So our first product is probably literally the definition of this entire concept. Packing cubes, or more specifically, a combination of compression packing cubes and regular packing cubes. And to be honest, I think using both is the perfect setup because they each solve a slightly different problem. Compression packing cubes are fantastic for bulkier clothing like hoodies, sweaters, jackets, or anything that takes up a lot of space. By compressing everything down, you can often fit significantly more inside your carry-on without making it feel completely overpacked. Regular packing cubes, on the other hand, are perfect for organization. Things like t-shirts, underwear, socks, gym clothes, or simply separating different categories of clothing become much easier to manage. For compression packing cubes, I've been using these Thule compression packing cubes. The set I have comes in a medium and a small size, costs around $45, and does exactly what it's supposed to do. You pack your clothes, zip them up, and then use the second zipper to compress everything down and save a surprising amount of space. And for regular packing cubes, I really like these ones from Osprey. They're incredibly lightweight, surprisingly durable, and honestly feel like they weigh almost nothing. The set comes with 3 different sizes and also costs around $45. And if you combine both sets, I genuinely think you're completely covered for almost any type of trip, whether it's a weekend getaway, a carry-on only trip, or even longer term travel. So our second product that saves not only time but also space is this universal travel adapter from Anker, the Anker Nano Travel Adapter. And let us be honest, owning a universal travel adapter in general is already a smart move because instead of buying separate adapters for different countries, you simply bring one product that works almost everywhere in the world. That alone saves you time, space, and even money over the long run. But the reason this specific adapter made the list is because it solves one of the most annoying problems even good universal travel adapters still have. They're usually bulky. For example, compared to something like the Apica adapter or even this Nomex adapter here, the Anker Nano is noticeably thinner, lighter, and simply easier to fit into a tech pouch, backpack, or carry-on. And that's exactly why I think it's perfect for this video. Because while almost every universal travel adapter helps save space compared to carrying multiple chargers, this one takes it one step further by being much more compact itself. The Anker Nano works in most countries around the world, comes with multiple USB ports, supports fast charging, and usually costs around $25, which is actually the same price or sometimes even cheaper than some of the larger alternatives I've tested. And considering how often I travel, it's become one of those products that simply earns its spot in my bag every single trip. So our next products are technically 2, but I think they complement each other really well. First one is this nomadic travel wallet, and the second one is this Osprey ultralight wallet. Although to be honest, I don't really use it as a traditional wallet. Let's start with the nomadic first. At around $20, it's one of my favorite minimalist travel wallets because it can hold up to 14 cards, some cash, and even expand slightly depending on how much you're carrying. And while it is definitely more of a minimalist wallet, I think for most travelers it's more than enough, especially if you're looking for something compact that doesn't take up much space in your pocket. Now where things get interesting is when you combine it with this Osprey pouch, because unlike the nomadic, this isn't really designed to be a card wallet. Instead, it's perfect for coins, a few bills, or all those small travel items that somehow always end up floating around your bag. For example, I've used it for receipts, spare SD cards, SIM cards, adapters, and even as a small organizer inside my sling bag. And because it's water resistant, it also has a few unexpected uses. When I'm heading to the beach, I'll often throw things like cash, cards, or other small essentials inside just to protect them a little better from sand and moisture. So while neither of these products is particularly revolutionary on its own, together they create a really simple system that saves space, keeps everything organized, and makes it much easier to find the things you actually need while traveling. And considering the Osprey pouch usually costs around $10 to $15, I think both together offer a lot of value for the money. So our next product is this U-Green Tech pouch in the small size, and this is basically a product that saves both space and time every single day while traveling, because let's be honest, most of us don't actually need a huge tech pouch. We just need enough space for the essentials: a charger, a power bank, a few cables, maybe some AirPods, an adapter, and that's pretty much it. And that's exactly why I like this smaller U-Green version so much. It only takes up the space you actually need, which means you're not carrying a larger pouch just to fill it with random items you'll probably never use during the trip. At the same time, it also saves a surprising amount of time because everything has its place. Instead of digging through your backpack looking for a charging cable, your power bank, or that one adapter you need at the airport, everything is organized in one spot and easy to find. And after testing it, I was honestly surprised by how much gear still fits inside here. For example, I can fit my charger, cables, AirPods, power bank, travel adapter, and even a few extra accessories without any problem. Now compared to something like my TomTok Tech pouch, which I still slightly prefer overall, the U-Green offers a very similar idea but in a slightly smaller and more compact package. And for this specific video, that's actually a good thing, because if your goal is to save space and only carry what you truly need, I think this smaller U-Green setup makes a lot of sense, especially considering that it usually costs only around $20. So our next product are these foldable travel hangers, and at first glance they honestly don't look very exciting. But after using them for a while, I realized they're actually one of the easiest ways to save both space and time while traveling. Because whether you're staying in hotels, Airbnbs, hostels, or even traveling long term, there never seems to be enough hangers when you actually need them. And that's especially annoying if you're hand washing clothes, trying to dry something overnight, or simply want to keep your setup organized. Now these fold down into a surprisingly small package, weigh almost nothing, and cost only around $10 for a full set. But the biggest advantage isn't actually the space savings, it's the time savings. Because instead of spending time figuring out where to dry clothes, hanging shirts over chairs, or draping things around your room, you already have a simple solution with you. And especially when you combine them with a travel clothesline or occasionally wash clothes while traveling, they become even more useful. They're definitely not the most exciting product in this video, but they're one of those small upgrades that quietly make travel a little easier every single trip. So our next product is this Osprey Foldable Daypack, and I think it's the easiest ways to save a surprising amount of space while traveling. Because normally if you want a second backpack for day trips, sightseeing, hiking, the beach, or just exploring a city, you have two options. Either you bring a second backpack and lose valuable luggage space, or you use your main carry-on backpack every day, which can quickly become annoying. And that's exactly where something like this comes in, because when it's folded down, it takes up barely any space inside your luggage. But within a few seconds, it turns into a fully functional day pack. Personally, I use mine for everything from beach days and grocery runs to short hikes and city trips. And what I like most is that it allows me to travel with one main backpack while still having a second bag whenever I need one. The Osprey version is also extremely lightweight, surprisingly comfortable for its size, and unlike many cheaper foldable backpacks I've tested, it actually feels durable enough for long-term travel. And while it usually costs around $30 to $40, I genuinely think it's one of the best space-saving travel products you can buy, because you're essentially carrying a second backpack without really carrying a second backpack at all. So our next product is this Moft phone stand, and unlike some of the previous products, this one isn't really here to save space. It's here to remove a lot of those small annoyances that somehow happen all the time while traveling. Because whether you're sitting at an airport, on a train, in a cafe, or during a long flight, there are constantly situations where you want to watch something, check directions, join a video call, or simply use your phone hands-free. And usually that means holding your phone, looking for something to lean it against, or creating some questionable setup with whatever happens to be nearby. This solves that problem instantly. It folds out in a few different ways, works in both portrait and landscape mode, and because it stays attached to the back of my phone, it's always there when I need it. Mine is actually this brown version, which I really like. It doesn't perfectly match my phone case, but Moft offers a huge range of different colors, so I think most people will easily find one they like, and that's my favorite thing about it. I don't have to carry a separate stand, and I don't have to waste time looking for a place to put my phone every single time I want to watch a good YouTube video while eating. It's not a life-changing product, but it's a small upgrade that quietly makes traveling a little more convenient every single day, which is exactly why it has earned a permanent spot in my setup. So our next product is this Anker Prime charger, and I think this might be one of the best examples in this entire video of something that saves both space and time. Now I will be honest, this thing isn't cheap. Depending on the version, you're usually looking at somewhere around $100 to $120, which is definitely more expensive than a lot of other chargers out there. And that's exactly why you haven't seen it on this channel before. But I honestly see it as one of those buy once, cry once products, because instead of carrying a separate laptop charger, a phone charger, and sometimes even an additional charger for other devices, this one charger can basically handle almost everything I travel with, and that's exactly why I love it. When I travel, I can often bring just this charger, a cable or two, and I'm done. No extra chargers, no extra clutter, and no wasting time trying to figure out what charger belongs to what device. And despite being relatively compact, it still comes with multiple USB-C ports, a USB-A port, and enough power to charge even larger devices like laptops without any problem. I also really like the small display on the front because it allows you to quickly see charging information and exactly how much power is being delivered to your devices. Another thing I really like is that the plugs fold down completely, which sounds like a small feature but actually makes a big difference when you're throwing it into a tech pouch or backpack every single day. It takes up less space, protects the plug itself, and simply makes the whole setup cleaner. So yes, it's definitely more expensive up front, but if you're someone who travels frequently and charges multiple devices, I genuinely think it's one of those products that can simplify your setup enough to justify the price. So our next product is the Tripped Toiletry Set, and I think this is one of the best examples in this entire video of a product that saves both space and time at the same time, because instead of carrying multiple random toiletry bags, Ziploc bags, and small pouches, you're basically getting one complete system. And that's what I like most about it. The entire set usually costs around $45, and for that price, you're not just getting a single good hanging toiletry bag, you're getting a hanging toiletry bag, a TSA approved liquids pouch, and additional storage for larger items depending on your setup. And that saves a surprising amount of space because everything has a dedicated place. Your liquids stay together, your toothbrush stays where it's supposed to be, your razor stays where it's supposed to be, and you're not constantly moving things around your backpack trying to find what you need. It also saves a lot of time once you arrive. Instead of unpacking multiple small bags, you simply take the toiletry bag out, hang it up, and everything everything is immediately accessible. The TSA liquids pouch is another feature I really like because you can pull it out in seconds at airport security instead of digging through your backpack trying to find your liquids. Personally, for shorter trips, I often only bring the TSA pouch itself, while for longer trips I usually take the complete setup, and that's really why I think this works so well. It's not necessarily about carrying more toiletries, it's about carrying them in a way that takes up less space, stays organized, and makes your entire travel routine quicker and easier. So our next product is this ESR 3-in-1 charger, and if the Anker Prime charger simplifies your charging setup while traveling, this thing takes it one step further. Because instead of carrying separate chargers and cables for your phone, watch and earbuds, everything charges in one place, and that's exactly why I think it deserves a spot in this video. When folded down, it's surprisingly compact, takes up very little space inside a backpack or tech pouch, and within a few seconds turns into a complete charging station. Personally, I use it almost every day while traveling because once I arrive at a hotel, Airbnb, or even an airport lounge, I simply unfold it, place my devices on it, and I'm done. No cable mess, no looking for multiple chargers, no figuring out which cable belongs to which device. And when you combine it with something like the Anker Prime charger we just talked about, you basically have an entire charging setup that takes up surprisingly little space considering how many devices it can handle. Now before we continue, a quick side note. And by the way, since almost 40% of you are watching these videos on a TV, or somehow you're part of the 1% watching on a smart fridge or something similar, you can simply scan the QR code on the right side of the screen right now and see all the products from today's video on your phone, plus a few bonus products that are also in my Amazon storefront. And with that, let's get back to the next product. Last but not least, and actually the only product in this video that doesn't really save you space but instead saves you a lot of time, is this Ugreen luggage tracker right here. Because let's be honest, losing luggage isn't actually the most common travel problem. Not knowing where your luggage is, that's the annoying part, and that's exactly what these solve. I've switched over to these Ugreen trackers over the last few months because they work directly with Apple's Find My network, which means I can instantly see where my backpack, carry-on keys or other gear is without needing another app or another ecosystem. And the biggest time saver is honestly the peace of mind. Instead of standing at baggage claim wondering if your suitcase made it, checking with an airline, or trying to remember where you left your bag, you can usually find the answer within a few seconds. I personally use one in my carry-on, one in my everyday backpack, one on my keys, and the fourth one is currently with my girlfriend for her carry-on setup, or sometimes in my car, because knowing myself, losing my car is probably not completely impossible. And considering a 4-pack usually costs around $30, I think they're one of the easiest travel upgrades you can make. Don't go anywhere just yet because we still have 4 bonus gadgets coming up that save even more space and cost surprisingly little. But real quick before we get into the bonus gadgets, if you're looking for even more ways to save space, stay organized, and build a smarter travel setup than just the products in this video, you might want to check out my newsletter. Inside, you'll find the Gear Vault bundle with 75 plus travel essentials I've personally tested, 8 complete packing guides, and practical travel setups designed to help you travel lighter, stay more organized, and avoid bringing things you don't actually need. And you'll also be joining a community of over 2,500 travelers already inside. You can join completely free through the first link in the description. So now, let's get into the bonus gadgets. So our first bonus gadget is the HydroPack Flux bottle, and I think this is one of the smartest water bottles for carry-on travel, because unlike a normal bottle, it collapses down once it's empty, which means it takes up significantly less space inside your backpack. It still holds plenty of water, feels surprisingly durable, and usually costs around $20. So if you're trying to save every bit of space possible, this is definitely worth looking at. Our next bonus gadget is this Fozzles origami bowl, and this is one of those products that looks a bit strange at first, but actually becomes surprisingly useful once you start traveling with it. It folds completely flat, weighs almost nothing, and gives you a proper bowl for things like fruit, snacks, instant meals, or even takeout food. At around $10, it's also one of the cheaper upgrades on this list. Our third bonus gadget is the Gum Foldable Toothbrush, and while it might not sound exciting, it's one of the easiest ways to save a little bit of space in your toiletry setup. The toothbrush folds into itself, it keeps the brush head protected, and usually costs only a few dollars. Simple, lightweight, and to be honest, just a smart travel design. And finally, we have these Velcro cable ties. They cost only a few dollars, but if you've ever opened a tech pouch full of tangled cables, you'll immediately understand why they're here. They keep everything organized, make cables easier to find, and save you from wasting time untangling things every time you need to charge a device. A very small upgrade, but one that I use almost every day. So that's it for today's video. And if you now want to see the 12 travel essentials that I personally never leave home without, you can check out that video right over here on the left. And if you're not subscribed yet, feel free to do that right over here on the right. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. And as always, safe travels, guys.